Welcome to This Explainer. I am thrilled you're here today because we are looking at something literally mind-boggling. Imagine turning on your TV on a Sunday, right? You see a guy playing in an NFL preseason game, taking huge hits from seasoned pros. Now imagine that exact same player, just a few days later, packing up his locker, shredding his pro contract, and heading right back to suit up for his college football team on a Saturday. Sounds completely crazy, right? For the longest time, the line between amateur and professional has been an absolute brick wall. But right now, we are watching that wall crumble in real time. Today, we're going to dive deep into exactly why this ruling exists, how this massive legal loophole opened up, and what it means for college football this season and beyond.
I'ma raise the stakes and make you shake. It's time to play now, get ready to play. The choice is yours, but I'ma choose to win. Time to take control, I'ma be the playmaker.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, we'll look at NFL vets back in college. Then, the age-based rule change. Third, the class of 2022 lawsuit. Fourth, the groundbreaking Louisiana ruling. And finally, the ripple effects on college football. All right, let's jump right into Section 1. NFL vets back in college, a surprising twist for the upcoming season. To really grasp how unprecedented this moment is, we have to look at how things used to be. You're probably sitting there thinking, hold on, can an NFL player actually return to college football? For decades, the NCAA rulebook was crystal clear. The second you signed with an agent or signed a pro contract, your amateur status was gone. Poof, over. There was absolutely no going back. You couldn't just test the NFL waters and retreat to your dorm if you didn't make the 53-man roster. But recently, a massive crack in that rulebook appeared, and a specific group of players is just driving a truck right through it. And this isn't just some wild hypothetical. These are real guys. There are 16 players in total part of this recent legal action. And let's just look at a few of them. You've got Xavier Harris from Ole Miss hitting NFL training camps, Daquan Wright on the Cleveland Browns roster, and his Ole Miss teammate, Wyatt Williams with the Cardinals. Over at Oregon State, Anthony Hankerson was with the Seahawks, and Jack Pyburn from LSU was on the Buccaneers roster. These guys were deep in the NFL ecosystem, grinding through a professional preseason. And yet, because of what we're about to unpack, they are suddenly eligible to step right back onto the college gridiron. So, how did we get here? That brings us to Section 2, the age-based rule change, the catalyst for all this chaos. It all boils down to a major policy shift from the NCAA. Back in June, they passed this brand new age-based eligibility policy. Now, historically, guys had 4 years to play, right? But this new model changed the whole game. It dictates that players now get 5 years to complete 5 seasons of eligibility. The clock starts ticking either on their 19th birthday or the day they enter college, whichever happens first. Honestly, on paper, giving athletes an extra year sounds pretty fantastic. It feels like a generous upgrade. But it's exactly how this rule was rolled out that caused a total legal earthquake. Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the class of 2022 lawsuit, the forgotten freshman class. Because when you create a rule that expands benefits, the first question everyone asks is, wait, who actually gets this? Let's walk through the timeline where things totally broke down. Imagine you're in the freshman class that enters college in 2022. Fast forward to June 2026. You've done your 4 years, and the NCAA passes this shiny new 5-year policy. But here is the catch. They refused to grandfather in that 2022 class. Under the new math, those guys should have gotten a 5th year, but the NCAA said no. So by the summer of 2026, these players are out of collegiate options. What else are they going to do? They head to NFL camps to try and go pro. But by August, realizing they were shortchanged out of a college season they felt totally entitled to, state-level lawsuits just started flying. And plaintiff attorney Ryan Downton really hit the nail on the head, summarizing the athletes' frustration. He basically said they should get 5 years too. If the NCAA had just given them 5 years, then none of them would have signed professional contracts or been forced to file suit today. It's such a simple, effective argument. These players didn't actually want to jump to the NFL prematurely and burn their eligibility. They did it because the NCAA essentially forced them out the door. They were literally just playing by the rules as they existed at that exact moment. Now we have to note a really crucial distinction here. Some guys navigated this minefield very, very carefully. Take Cole Hudson, a Texas offensive lineman. He participated in an NFL camp, sure, but he purposely didn't sign a compensation contract, which meant he could eventually return to the Longhorns after a separate lawsuit. But our 16 plaintiffs in Louisiana, They went all in. They actually signed professional compensation contracts and played in the NFL preseason. That makes their attempt to return to college highly unusual, and it's what makes the legal ruling we're about to look at so fascinating. Let's move to Section 4, the groundbreaking Louisiana ruling, where a judge basically hits pause on the NCAA. This right here is the climax of the whole story. All this tension exploded on a random Wednesday night when a state-level judge just pulled the emergency brake on the NCAA. A local judge in Louisiana granted a temporary restraining order, a TRO, that explicitly allowed these 16 former players a fifth year of eligibility. Let's translate that legalese for a second. The judge basically looked at the NCAA and said, you are legally prohibited from blocking these players from returning to college football just because they signed a pro contract. Guys, that is a stunning reversal of one of the absolute oldest, most rigid principles in college sports. But it wasn't just a free pass. The judge outlined 3 very specific legal hurdles these guys had to clear to get their amateur status back. Step 1, they had to immediately terminate any professional or agent contracts. Obviously. Step 2, they had to return every single penny they earned from those contracts. You can't pocket NFL money and go back to playing amateur ball. And step 3, they had to legally enter the transfer portal because, let's face it, their old college teams might not even have roster spots open for them anymore. And here is the absolute kicker: 1 week. The ruling gave them exactly 7 days to legally enter the transfer portal. It set off this incredibly chaotic ticking clock. Imagine having just a few days to untangle yourself from an NFL franchise, give back a bunch of money, hit the portal, and either scramble to find a brand new college team or negotiate a return to your old one. Total madness. So where does this leave us? That brings us to Section 5, ripple effects on college football. What happens next? Well, the first thing we have to understand is the legal scope. Because this temporary restraining order was issued in a state court down in Louisiana, it only applies to those 16 specific plaintiffs. It doesn't just magically grant a fifth year to every single player in the country in a similar boat. But the precedent, it is massive. It's basically a giant green light to athletes and lawyers everywhere that if you challenge the NCAA in state court over this, you could actually win. The floodgates are wide open. Naturally, this has sparked a massive, highly public debate. The NCAA's senior vice president, Tim Buckley, issued this really stern warning. He argued this creates a destabilizing effect where guys will just treat college sports as a safety net if they get cut from the pros, stripping spots away from true traditional college kids. But then you have the Texas Trial Group, who represented the athletes. They fired right back on X, completely rejecting that framing. They flat out said, this isn't how we feel at all, and defended the athletes' fundamental right to just get the 5 years they were promised. We are seeing a real philosophical clash over what a college athlete even is anymore. And this loophole is so enormous, it's actually reached Washington. Senator Ted Cruz posted on X in response to the ruling saying, this is exactly why Congress must act. He's currently pushing his Protect College Sports Act. Lawmakers are sitting on Capitol Hill watching state judges just dismantle the NCAA's rulebook piece by piece. So there is definitely a growing push for federal intervention to standardize these rules before the whole system just totally fractures. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is college football fundamentally transforming into just a fallback option for pro athletes who get cut from training camp? Or is this just a crazy temporary glitch in a system desperately trying to modernize its rules? The line between Saturday and Sunday football is practically non-existent right now, and how the courts or Congress handle this is going to redefine the future of the sport. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep a close eye on those rosters this season because, honestly, you never know who's going to show up on campus next.